Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Story number 1. The Human Delusion, written by Nerd Beneath a hemisphere of transparent crystalline, the professor shuffled his notes. Z didn't need to consult the data slices anymore, having been on station for many orbits, but adjusting them was a part of the performance. Around them, the last of the students were settling down as their varied seats, perches, and pools. Another generation of students at the Academy for Conscious Lives in the Universe. Did humans ever exist? The professor asked in the core language forms, pulsing air from the verberists, flickering light from the spectrists, and oscillating Zismantle bladder for electrists. The starry sky outside flashed as the Academy's particle accelerator searched for tachyons in increasingly high-powered collisions. Despite the flickering nonsense, even the spectrists were rapt as they began to teach galactic history. Search deep enough in the annals of each sentient species, and you will find the characters that match the proposed traits of humanity. Carbon-based, oxygen-processing endoskeleton bipeds with high technology and many talents. They are a diverse cast, diplomats and generals, scientists and prophets, philosophers and tricksters. Indeed, some scholars, Z was sure to emphasize the purple in that word, claim that humanity visited all sentient worlds simultaneously, close to one galactic cycle ago, pointing us towards the stars once we were ready for peaceful galactic coexistence. To continue in my class, you must accept this for what it is, mythology, and nothing more, a myth perpetrated through charitable interpretations of uncertain histories and shoddy evidence. Will you be serious students of history, or will you choose to believe in humans? After the theatrical pause, Z resumed the lecture. Good, now let me take you back to the birth of the... With all due respect, sir, I believe in humans. One of the students was standing with upper limb raised. Academy admissions had always succeeded in screening out such humanist kooks, but Z supposed one would get through eventually. The professor glanced at his notes for a moment before speaking with an orange tone. Well then, why don't you enlighten us with your beloved nesting tales? Thank you, sir. The creature bobbed its head, grey plumage wobbling with its movement. Less than 17 galactic cycles ago, life emerged on a planet that would be known as Earth. After many cycles, a sentient species evolved, and they were lucky enough to develop a culture with just the right balance of ingenuity and empathy. The professor nodded along. They was thrown by the student's confidence, but these were details of a familiar part to human myth. Z knew the student would describe humanity looking out at an immense void between the stars, lonely and determined. The mythical beings would use their mighty intellect to bend the fabric of reality, distorting time itself, allowing them to interact with the galaxy of species whenever they needed. And so humans shepherded the cultures of the galaxy, ensuring that they would be able to cooperate when the time came. Humanity prevented vast imbalances of power that might lead to exploitation, and when the stage was set, we gave each species insight to travel between the stars. We have no wish to dominate. We wanted you to develop your own culture, and so we've been absent for a cycle. But now we have returned. This was a new twist the professor hadn't heard before, but this interior antennae tingled as Z realized the counter. You claim to be human. Why don't you prove it? Show us your mighty powers over time and space. Certainly, Professor. The biped smiled, pointing towards upwards, where the particle collider flickered, a clear message over and over. Humanity has returned! Humanity has returned! The professor's pleopods gave way and he fell to the floor as the class cheered, flickered, and oscillated. That student's name, Albert Einstein. End of story. Story number 2. Monsters and Heroes, written by LG Father Anthracite. Kraliak stood at the front porch of his friend William's house. He had a plain white bedsheet with 2 holes cut in it for eye stalks draped over himself. He had been informed by some friends that this was the traditional outfit for extraterrestrials during the festival of Halloween. Kriliuk was fascinated by the strange customs of humans. They had dozens of customs for play acting as monsters of their culture and fictions, from the horror movies he had grown to like, despite going into full fear response on his first viewing, to the games where they got pretend to be anyone they pleased, to the act of dressing as monsters and heroes. Kriliuk had never before encountered a species so insistent on exploring so many facets of their personalities. William came out to the porch carrying a large plastic dish decorated with prints of flying nocturnal mammals, filled with small individually wrapped candies. He handed Kriliuk a can of Diet Cola and sat in one of the chairs on the porch, setting the bowl on the small table. "Have a seat, Kriliuk. Get comfy," he said, nestling back a little into the cushions. "Friend William, I'm too excited to sit. There is so much pageantry, so much activity, so many costumes. I wish to know what they all are." Kriliuk stuck his forelimbs out from under the sheet and showed William a pen and paper that he had started to take notes on. William laughed. "Sure thing, bud. Oh, looks like we have some customers." 3 small children in costumes approached, each holding a plastic bag with cartoon representations of classic movie monsters. Kriliuk recognized Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, and the Wolfman. The children were dressed up as a popular animated princess and 2 heroes from modern action movies. William held the bowl out to Kriliuk, who selected a small items for each child and waited to hear the correct phrase, giddy with excitement at again participating in the human holiday. "Twick or tweet," chorused the children. "What lovely costumes! I shall provide treats, so please do not play tricks on me," Kriliuk responded. He placed a small handful of goodies in each bag, and then said, "May I ask who you are dressed as?" He pulled out a pen and paper. "I am Princess Lunaria." "I'm Defletamos." "He's the best," said the one boy. "I'm Ultra Boy. He's way better than Defletamos," said the other. "Nuh-uh," said the first boy. "Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing. Please continue to be safe and enjoy your night," Kriliuk said. His eye stalks bobbed with mirth as the boys playfully pushed each other. "Thanks," all the children said as they headed back down the front walkway. Kriliuk saw another group approaching and reloaded on candy. So many data points. Kriliuk sat in the chair, sipping his beverage as he started a preliminary tally on his costume data. "Friend William, I am intrigued. I see a great many human children dressed as heroes and the like, as opposed to monsters, though there was still a great many of those as well. Why is this? I thought this was a festival of fright." "Well, Kriliuk, not everyone wants to be a monster, or look into the dark side of human nature. Some people want to know what it's like to be a hero, or a princess, or even a robot or an alien. Humans love to pretend. They like to be moms and dads, cats and dogs, monsters and heroes, cops and robbers. Humans love to see things from many different angles. I can never know what it is like to be you, Kriliuk, but I can imagine what an alien would think of life on Earth, just like I can think of what it would be to fly or be invisible." Kriliuk thought of that for a time that he had played the role-playing game with his friends, and how they had banded together to save the city from invading monsters, of how in every horror movie there was a human who fought back against the monsters and won. He thought of the earthquake, when he had helped in relief efforts, along with countless humans who worked for days to help those in need. He thought of people who had befriended him, cared for him, welcomed him into their lives and homes. He thought of how, on a night when everyone was allowed to be whatever they wanted, there were so many who dressed as heroes, as well as monsters. Of how even when they were supposed to play at monsters, they still chose to be heroes. He thought of what truly strange and marvelous creatures they were, so fascinated with their own darkness, but almost dismissive of their kindness and strength. How they struggled so hard to know who they were, both as individuals and as a people. "I think, friend William, that if I were a monster, Earth is the last place that I would ever want to be." End of story. This is a special thank you to the one, the only, the legendary Eric Hino, who has become the only Tier 6 patron. I just want to thank the T5 patrons and channel members. Cam Maxwell, Casper Arnholtz, Estrella the Dreamer, Tryagain95, Fudic Yol, Meridian117, Elysia, Jordan Bucksbaum, Angry Marine, Albarden Gusta, and Barkey. Thank you very much. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed. There are links down below, both to support this channel and for the author of this fiction. Anyways, I hope you all have a fantastic one, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.